Now, speaking of Nigerians doing incredible things, making us proud at home and abroad, huge shout out to my very own father, Kabiyesi, the Idera of Idera. I was shocked that Kabiyesi watches this show. Can you imagine? Oba James Oladipo, Aroko, Olaburemo, Ajagungbade the first. My father, Kadepelori Kipata, Opelesi Obeni. Now I need help getting up. Come and bow for the king, go Janet. Never mind. Now, for those who may be wondering, yes, he's the one. Of course, former Nigerian wrestler, Ladi, African Tiger. Yes, so this man was so popular in the 80s, representing Nigeria at the Wild West Wrestling until 1989 when he injured his neck. He went back home after that. He had moved to the US since 1977, went to college in Georgia. Anyway, after he got injured, he went back to Nigeria for about 10 years. He's originally from Idera in Kwara State. Shout out to Idera people. But then he came back to the US, living a regular life. And guess what? From 1999, he started working in New York as a tour bus driver. Those tour buses that you guys see. Maybe some of you have even run into my father while he was driving a double-decker. I'm telling you. Now guess what? On May 10th, 2004, he was crowned the king of Idera against all his protests because he did not want to be king. He didn't want that responsibility. Idera is a town of about 12,000 people, he said. And so he didn't want that responsibility. He didn't want to be king. He wanted to be in New York, you know, living a regular life. But the town insisted that he has to be king. He's the youngest of 9 children. His uncle was king, and then when his uncle died, his dad was supposed to be the next king, but his dad had also died. His dad actually died before his uncle. His dad was supposed to be king before his uncle, but we're not going into that story. His dad had told him in 1994 that he would be the next king. And he said absolutely no, that he's not interested, that he would not be king, but his dad insisted that he had to be the next king. And that was why he actually ran from Nigeria back to New York to drive a bus. He said he just wanted to take care of his own family. He has 10 children of his own, by the way, to take care of. And he didn't want to be a king. But when he went for his parents' funeral outing, both his parents, the town insisted that he had to be king. So he gave them a condition. He said, well, I don't have any other business that I'm doing in Nigeria. I don't have any other means of income. I'm a bus driver in New York. I'm not about to just sit here waiting for the pennies that come from the state government. You know, usually the state government gives some allocation to kings, but it's not a lot of money. It's actually nothing for the kings themselves to live on, or talk about using that to develop their towns. So he said, I'm not about to sit here waiting for the pennies that come from the state government. I will only be king if you would let me spend 6 months in a year back in New York driving a bus. And then the town said, sure, why not? And then he called his job in New York and asked whether they would agree to that arrangement. And they said, of course, you're now a king. If you want to work only 6 months in a year, sure, you can do that. So ladies and gentlemen, since 2004, that was how Oba Idera would spend 6 months at home being king. And then for 6 months in a year, he would take off his crown, go back to New York, driving a double-decker bus. And why his story inspires me is the fact that he takes the money that he makes of his own to not just take care of his family, but to take care of his hometown. Remember, he has 10 children of his own to take care of, but he also decided to take care of his people, all from his salary as a bus driver. I asked him what motivates him, what inspires him to do this, and he said, well, he grew up watching his dad making an impact in his town. His hometown was founded by his grandfather, and so he said he grew up watching his dad making an impact in his town, even though his dad was never king. The first road that led to Idera was constructed by his dad. The first hospital, a dispensary, was built by his dad. The first post office was built by his dad. The first school in Idera was built by his dad. All this in the 60s and 70s. So guess what? Every time he gets paid in New York, he sends some money home. He said that the biggest problem at that time in his town was water scarcity. So the first thing he did was to sink a couple of boreholes in his town. And then he got some of his friends, some of his co-workers to help pay for more boreholes. And then he said when Kwara State government heard that the new king was digging boreholes for his people, the government also came and sank more boreholes. So now his town has about 9 boreholes. He also tore down and renovated the hospital built by his dad. He renovated the school built by his dad, and then he built more classrooms. He bought a transformer for his town so that they could have electricity. On a yearly basis for about 4 years, he said he would rent a grader and grade the road to to his hometown while they continue to wait for the government of the state to tear the road. Unfortunately, the government of Kwara State is yet to tar the road to his hometown since 2004 that he's been king. I think they just forgot. So Kwara State government, we are begging you, please tar the road to Idera. A lot of people want to go and see what Oba Idera is doing. God bless you, Kwara State government. In any case, every year he will grade the road from Owode to Idera as they continue to wait on the government to fix their road. He said until erosion made it impossible. He said now it has become way too expensive for one person to do because the road is so bad right now. He bought water pumps for farmers and encouraged more people to go into farming in Idera. He had professionals come to examine their soil texture in Idera, and they found out that their land is really, really good and fertile for cashew farming. And within 3 years, they started producing cashew in Idera. He gave an acre of land to anybody interested in cashew farming. As a matter of fact, today Idera is now one of the largest producers of cashew in Kwara State. He invested in their gari production to the point where gari Idera became so popular. Now they have gari production stations. There is so much that I could say, but his biggest pride, he told me, is his wife, the beautiful Olori of Idera, Olori Roslyn Abosede Buremo, my mother. In fact, let me play his words about his beautiful wife.
Oh, my dear, if I might say, she made a big difference in my life. She's been like my guardian angel. We've done everything together. I mean, literally everything. From raising the kids to being on the throne. She's my greatest advisor. She's my rock. And I really do appreciate her. I love her more than anything else.
I'm not going to cry. Kabiesi is in love. Thank you so much, my mother. We appreciate you on this show. He talked at length about his wife and how she empowers women in the town. As a matter of fact, every Christmas, she would distribute food from house to house, making sure that people have more than enough to celebrate Christmas. They literally will pack vehicles and they will be giving food to people. Everything that I've mentioned, by the way, that he did, he said they did it together. His biggest thing was the fact that she made a lot of sacrifice because, you know, they were supposed to be in New York together. But because he's king now, the wife had to stay back in Kwara State to raise the children while he went to work in New York. So he said that she made a huge sacrifice in raising the kids while he wasn't around most of the time. He also wanted me to give a shout out to his kids for putting up with the fact that he was gone most of the time, trying to make ends meet in New York while they were growing up in Nigeria.
Ladi diving in on top of the news quarter. 1, 2, 3, and Ladi, the African tiger, picks up the victory. What a tremendous comeback by this young man. One of
Those are some of the action clips of the monarch as Ladi African tiger in his youthful days. Now can you take a guess as to whom you saw frying Gary? Well, that is the Onidera of Idera, Oba Oladipo Buremo Ajagungbade I, displaying his mastery in the art of frying Gary. Humility personified, you would agree, the royal father did not stop at that, as he equally engages students in class as one of his passion towards developing his community.
Who's this? Tortoise.
No wonder this corps member, having seen the monarch strive towards enhancing the standard of education in his kingdom, voluntarily goes to Idera once a week for extramural lessons.
My original plan was to go into educational rural development, so I came across Kabiesi and I spoke to Kabiesi, and he saw it as an awesome idea.
With peaceful coexistence as his watchword, Oba Oladipo Buremo rules over different ethnic groups who migrated to his community for greener pastures.
See, they peacefully, no any problem. I benefit for farm. 1. 2. The place that I live, my children are not going to school, but I come here, they are going to school.
The monarch also travels outside the country to work and raise funds with which he develops his community.
A project has been launched by the Onidera of Idera, Oba James Buremo, to boost the economy of Idera community and engage its youths meaningfully. Ahmad Fulani was in Idera now reports.
Idera is one of the popular communities in Ifelodun local government area of Kwara State, blessed with arable land that is suitable for cashew cultivation. In its drive to diversify its economy, the monarch deemed it fit to engage the youth in vocational training with the aim at making them self-reliant while furthering their education. This is the spirit behind the birth of Ladi Tiger Rural Development Foundation Vocational Training Center. With emphasis on hairdressing, fashion designing, and bakery.
This will be a sort of motivation for others to want to do better. Idera community is my community. I am Idera of Idera. So anything that happens in Idera, whether positive or adverse, it's me. And I want it to be positive.
We're just trying to look for the betterment of the community. We're just trying to build up the children, then to make this community grow as well.
Grace Adeleke, a biology teacher posted to Idera, conceived the idea of engaging a student in different vocations, an initiative that was graciously approved and financed by Idera. Personal experience of combining Western education with vocational studies was a motivation.
Some of them are actually pretty much interested in vocational stuffs. So I discovered that, I said probably they will be interested in vocational trainings. We can help them, even if they are not very good academically, and even some of them that are good academically, the vocational stuff can be of assistance to them when they get out there.
I've been finding about this opportunity before that I did not see. So when I heard about it, I'm so happy. It will be additional income when I get to school.
Various speakers at the event, including traditional rulers, harped on the importance of learning skills while advising students to embrace the lifetime opportunity.
It's going to help all the children that will take part in it with their parents. It will also help others who will see it and want to develop their own community like that.
Earlier, the proposed site for the construction of the vocational center was inspected by Idera of Idera, flanked by other monarchs in the region.
This is definitely a great way to build a progressive community.